Hit me.
From Studio P in Sausalito, the home of the hit, it's time for...
Succotash.
Yes, Succotash Clips, the original Comedy Soundcast Soundcast featuring snippets from comedy...
Soundcasts.
And now, filling in for host Tyson Saner, here is Succotash executive producer, Marc Hershon. Yes, Marc Hershon. All right, that's enough, guys. Please pipe down now. These voices are driving me crazy.
Saluton. And this is not your regular host, Tyson Saner, this time around, but former host, executive producer, and folding plastic room divider, Marc Hershon. That's right. I'll be filling in for Tyson for this, and maybe another 1 or 2 episodes as well, because Mr. and Mrs. Saner are welcoming their first baby into the world. Congratulations from all of us here at Succotash to all of you Saners, old and new, up in Humboldt County in Northern California. Tyson needed to take some time away from his duties as host of this show, and I volunteered to step in for a bit, so here I am. If you'd like to pass along your congratulations to Tyson, feel free to ping him on Twitter at RevT23, or you can email him at Tyson, Tyson, at succotashshow.com. That's SUCCOTASHSHOW.com. You can even call our toll-full Skype line and leave him a cheery message at 1-818-921-7212. If you don't recognize my voice, that's okay. I started Succotash back in 2012, and after 7 years of hosting this show, stepped away from the microphone almost exactly a year ago to make way for Tyson to take the reins. I've been in the background as executive producer, posting the shows online, handling all our social media stuff, and I've been busy trying to get a couple of other new projects off the ground too. But if you're new to Succotash, the Comedy Soundcast Soundcast, this is where we feature snippets from other people's comedy soundcasts. Some people still call them podcasts. In fact, pretty much everybody calls them podcasts, in order to let you know what's going on out there in the incredibly crowded field of soundcasting. We're kind of like a Whitman sampler of rich, chewy soundcast goodness. This episode will be featuring clips from Armchair Expert, Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, Dave Hill's podcast Incident, The Smartest Man in the World, What a Time to Be Alive, and The Young and the Weary. Succotash is brought to you by Henderson's Pants' new toddler trousers and TrumpPoetry.com. One segment we won't be featuring this episode, and may not be for the foreseeable future, is our long-running Burst O' Durst with political comedian and social commentator Will Durst. Will's been doing these segments for years, literally, out of the goodness of his heart, and he's taken a much-needed hiatus. And he's not sure if it's worth coming back. We can't afford to pay him for his excellent commentaries because, well, we don't have any paying sponsors. We are totally listener-supported, but no one clicks on our donate button at succotashshow.com or clicks on the Amazon banner at the top of the same page or buys any of our merch from our Succotashery. So we would love to keep bringing you Will's amazing take on the political and social landscape, but the Succotash coffers are empty. If you'd like to hear more Durst, let us know at Durst, D-U-R-S-T, at succotashshow.com. And if and or until he rejoins us on Succotash, you can always check him out at his website at willdurst.com. All right, enough of that. Let's get into the clippage, shall we? One of the things I do, one of my side jams, if you will, besides executive produce Succotash, is providing weekly reviews to Vulture.com's This Week in Comedy Podcasts. That online column used to be one of SplitSider.com's columns, but when SplitSider was bought by Vulture last year, all of us reviewers made the jump over there too. Well, recently I've reviewed several episodes of the relatively new Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend soundcast, and it's pretty damned entertaining. The setup is that Conan's been hosting his TV talk show for a really long time, but he's never really taken the time to make friends with any of his celebrity guests. Well, this soundcast is meant to be the cure for that. Recently, however, Conan had an actual friend on the show, none other than Adam Sandler. They've known each other for over 30 years. They were on Saturday Night Live together, and they even live in the same neighborhood in Los Angeles. In this snippet, they talk about their approaches to dealing with audiences.
I have to tell you, I get so nervous for my audience if I'm going to do a show.
Oh, yeah.
And, the show that I'm doing now is pretty clean, but some of the comics work pretty blue. I'm pretty clean, but,
Yeah, it happens.
But it's just, they're hilarious and they're doing some blue stuff and some of it can be pretty filthy and they're talking about real stuff.
Right.
And just before the show, every now and then, people will come to me in the green room or the dressing room and it'll be like, this is, Conan, it's your wife's parents' oldest friends, the Ditherworths. And they'll come by and they'll be like, we just came by and we bought tickets and we're going to be right up front when the girl sings about abortion, and you're and I'm horrified and I want to protect them and get them out of there. And I'm worried the whole time and you can't do that. And then sometimes afterwards they're just like, oh, I love the girl with the abortion. They will.
That's funny, man. If I hear the wrong person's in the crowd, I'll have times where I'm ready. I'm in a good mood. You know how you find yourself in the right mood?
Yep.
You're like, oh, I'm going to be good tonight because I'm feeling like myself and nothing's making me nuts. And then all of a sudden somebody goes, so-and-so is here. And you're just like, and your whole mood changes.
Yep.
I get like that because of what I'm talking about. And
I don't want to know who's
I don't like knowing either. Yeah, right. I used to be so nuts that when I was first doing stand-up, I would never look out I'd hide before a show. It wasn't like a famous thing. I was just like, I don't want to see who's there. I would look into the lights while I was on stage. I didn't want to know who was not laughing or laughing, who was judging me. And now I'm so happy. I literally will meet the crowd before I'll get so anxious to meet them. The lights are still up while they're filing in, and I'll walk out and be like, here we go. And then they'll be like, is that Adam?
Oh, wow. I wouldn't do that.
I'm weird. It makes me feel more comfortable.
I'm superstitious about seeing them beforehand, but I'm curious, when you watch your own Netflix special, there's a camera that's showing these massive audiences, massive.
Yeah.
It just looks like there's thousands of people in there.
Right.
Now you can see someone way in the back decide to go use the bathroom.
Yeah.
And I know me.
Yeah, I'm
crazy enough that I'd be like, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You can't hold it in?
I know.
For me?
I know.
You can't. That's how crazy I am.
Yeah,
really? Where are you going? When someone gets up and leaves and goes, there's a bunch of places I've played where they can go and get drinks in the lobby.
Right, yes.
And I'm just like, really?
Now you're getting the drink.
You need a Michelob Light right now?
I used to bring Norm, Spade, Schneider, Swartzen, all these guys on the tours, and they would do long each time, and they were doing 20, 25 minutes each. And then when I got up there, the crowd was so needing to go to the bathroom that it would throw my rhythm off.
And you became their bathroom break.
Yeah, exactly.
It just makes you crazy.
Exactly.
But what's funny is no one understands. They don't think Adam Sandler would ever think about that. They think you're in a different place. They don't know you are going to notice.
Well, I wish we could handle it better. The nights I'm light about it, I'm funnier. The nights that I get tense and jumpy, I had a manager when I was like 19, and I was at the comic strip and I was on stage, and he saw me do well. And then he came back a week later, he brought people to see me, and I didn't do well. I ate it like for 10 straight minutes, and I came off and I was like, in this crowd, blah, blah, blah. And he said, you didn't seem like you were last week. Last week it looked like you were having fun up there. You were getting mad. You were yelling at that person for doing something. And I was very sensitive back then. If I saw a crowd member not enjoying, if I got a laugh with most of the crowd and somebody didn't laugh, I'd always jump on that guy. What's the matter, buddy? You all right? Can I get you something? I was psychotic.
Yeah.
It's so much easier just to ignore it and let that guy come to you eventually. And the nights I do that, it's a great show. The nights I can't do that, when you do these giant theaters or arenas and stuff, and they pay the most to be in the front row, a lot of times they're not your best audience.
No.
And that's the only ones you see, and you're so mad at these guys for just being stiff, and they're mad at you for charging so much money for those seats. So there's a little friction.
You can find Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, which is executive produced, by the way, by Super Ego's Matt Gorley, over at Earwolf. And as most of the shows featured here on Succotash go, you can find it on iTunes, Stitcher, the Laughable app, Spotify, and bunches of other places. I'm not going to tell you that every time, by the way. Just take it as given. for the shows and the clips you're going to hear tonight, whenever you're listening to this. Plus, you can visit the blog entry for this very episode on our home site at succotashshow.com. Click on the title for each soundcast. You'll be taken right to their home site, or a reasonable facsimile, where you can pick up any of the episodes of their shows. Dave Hill is a quintuple threat: comedian, actor, writer, musician, and radio/soundcast host. He originally hails from Columbus, Ohio, but is moored in New York these days, where he puts out his Dave Hill's podcasting incident whenever he can. This past week, he was out in my neck of the woods for the San Francisco Sketch Fest, which I was also doing. But our paths did not cross, alas. Nonetheless, we have a clip from his latest drop, Epi186, featuring another multi-hyphenate, Sarah Hartshorn, who is a writer, comedian, former America's Top Model contestant as well. And in this clip, she and Dave talk about her modeling in Germany and wearing a dirndl. I mainly picked this snippet so I could say the word dirndl.
You've had an amazing, path, modeling to comedy.
Yeah.
Those seem like two very, I've admittedly not done the modeling part, but those are two hard jobs.
Yeah.
If you were to pick like a third, it would be like surgeon.
Oh man, I would be so bad at that. Truly catastrophically bad at that. But that would be amazing. That would be amazing. Yeah, it's. I was just talking to someone about how they are similar and different. It's all freelance. That's similar, right? And so it's like gig to gig.
But with modeling though, you bring the hammer. Like when you if you're modeling strikes me as a sort of all or nothing thing. Like you're either making money or you're not. Like if you're modeling, or can you?
You can make a living. I had day jobs the first couple years, but then because it also depends on what kind of modeling you're doing. So I was plus size, and now plus size models have a lot more opportunities in like high fashion, like they're in like Vogue and Elle. But when I was doing it, that was only sort of just starting to be true. So I did catalogs. I did a lot of German catalogs.
Really?
Yeah, German lingerie. I actually, it was very weird. I got a European agent. And they sent me to a bunch of gigs in Germany.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was great. It was amazing. And I never would have gone to Germany if it hadn't been for these jobs. So I got to explore all these German cities.
Do you love Germany?
I do now, yeah.
I love Germany.
I love Germany. I only went to Berlin once. I want to go as a tourist and actually go, because I only was there. I had one day. Mm-hmm. But it was amazing. Yeah, I went to Munich and Frankfurt, Hamburg, Nuremberg, Stuttgart, and this one tiny town where there was a company that shot, and I can't remember what it was called, but it was really little. But yeah, I cornered a very specific market. I was doing catalogs, and I started doing lingerie catalogs, and then I became the go-to model for Oktoberfest plus-size lingerie catalogs.
Oh so my I've gosh, worn that's the jackpot.
It was amazing.
If I were a woman, that would be the jackpot for modeling.
Dirndls and lederhosen. I've worn hundreds of dirndls.
Really?
And probably hundreds.
Dirndl, is that the St. Pauli girl? My gosh.
The apron and the white shirt. And
that's incredible.
And lederhosen are the men's. It's the men's shorts, but now women wear them to be sexy. So
I could see that.
Yeah, and
but that's the weird thing about Germany. I've been to Germany a few times and been maybe in a dozen cities, and I thought, which I'm guessing maybe a lot of people think, Americans and stuff, that I thought it would be, I was like, oh, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be Oktoberfest everywhere all the time. And then you get there and it's not like that at all. What a letdown.
But, oh man, really good meat.
Yeah.
All meat. I thought it would just be sausage. I was it's just going to be schnitzel and weird pork things, but they make the best rotisserie chicken I've ever had. I got off the street in Nuremberg. It was so good.
Yeah, they do it right.
Yeah.
Wait, so you would wear? Did they have you with the big mugs of beer too?
Sometimes it depends. It's funny. I was just talking about my first ever shoot there, and it wasn't lingerie. It was just regular Oktoberfest clothes, like costumes. They're not costumes. They're
Like historically accurate.
Yeah, or like modern takes on it, you know.
Lucy, good girl, lie down. We're talking about what are they called?
Dirndls.
Dirndls.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah, the shirt is
the
called
word
something
for that.
else, but I forget what it is. But dirndl is like the apron thing that like pushes up your boobs. You like tie it under. And then there's a skirt. Traditionally, there's a really long skirt, but now usually they wear like shorter ones. And like the St. Pauli girl is like it's a short skirt look. But yeah, so it was very specific. And my first, I thought it would be Oktoberfest all the time, but we shot it in like, I think it was like March or something, because they got to get the catalog all ready and stuff.
Yeah.
Check out Dave Hill's podcasting incident wherever fine soundcasts are streamed and or downloaded, including his home site. Clickable from our site, succotashshow.com. Well, I figured it was high time to revisit the smartest man in the world, the Soundcast from past Succotash guest Greg Proops, best known perhaps from Whose Line Is It Anyway? He's also a personal friend and improv cast member with yours truly. That's right, we've tread the boards together, and I think he's one of the fastest, funniest people around. In this clip, Greg and his wife Jennifer soundcast from their fortress of proopitude. And in this snippet, they get into some old Hollywood lore and hijinks.
I don't know.
Topics at hand.
I think people might be wanting a little bit of entertainment right now. I might want to hear a little bit about. So Jennifer and I are friends with an actress in England, and she was in a picture with Ava Gardner, and her name is Linda Marlowe.
Oh, and she's a marvelous actress.
She's one of Berkoff's leads. Stephen Berkoff, the great playwright and filmmaker, who, by the way, I just saw it was the anniversary of.
She introduced us to Ellen Bates.
She introduced us to Ellen Bates at a restaurant in Edinburgh, in London.
In London.
In North London.
But I mean, that was just so Linda. Like, she just knows everyone and was this cool cat of the 60s and 70s.
I mean, she gave up the cigarettes, but until she did, she rolled her own smokes. And she could stand on her head.
She took up acrobatics at 60.
And learned Spanish at 70 or whatever. Anyway, there's no telling how great Linda Marlowe is. And gorgeous, right? She weighs about...
Stunning.
85 pounds. She could crush her.
I remember we were at the Opera House, and we were sitting next to her, and she turned to me and said, "Feel my thigh."
Yeah.
And I did, and I was like, oh my God, it's a rock.
No. Like, she was like Jacqueline.
She's amazing.
Yeah, Kirk Douglas. Just wasn't she with us at Josie's gig where Josie was conducting?
Yeah, that's...
Right.
Yeah.
That was in Covent Garden. That was great fun. We went to Jay's Shakin', had seafood, and we saw Linda. The point of my Linda story is this. Yes, Greg? Linda told us while we were having dinner at one of these various affairs that she was in a picture with Ava Gardner. And they were shooting in Mexico. Was it Mexico? Somewhere uncomfortable. I don't mean Mexico means uncomfortable. I just meant it was an uncomfortable shoot in so much as there was no air conditioning. The conditions were not perfect. And these were actresses forced to deal with adversity. And particularly Ava Gardner, who had certainly had a long in August. And they were having a smoke and a drink in her caravan, as it were, after hours. And Ava Gardner expressed to her unease with the situation and said, I don't dig how they're treating me on this set. I don't like the catering. I don't like...
She didn't have any air conditioning.
She says, I'm dying of the goddamn heat here. And Linda said, and she turned to me and said, I'm going to call Frank. And so she rang Frank in the States. I don't know what year this picture was. My guess is late 60s, early 70s.
It was early 70s.
Early 70s. Knowing
so,
Linda.
Well after she was divorced from Sinatra.
They were married in the early 50s during From Here to Eternity.
So she was still calling him.
Well, but as you know, Frank Sinatra interfered
favors.
in every ex-wife's life until the end of time.
Well, as a manic depressive gangster
Mia Farrow,
would.
Ava Gardner, like there was no one he...
Yeah.
And Barbara just pushed on last year, was it?
Over 100. Yeah, so she phoned Frank, and the next day, like it was
Earth moved.
Yeah, inconceivably, somehow in the middle of nowhere, she had air conditioning.
Some crop shoot. My recollection is it was like a cliff on a beach in Mexico. The next day there was catering There was air conditioning. There was a lobster thermidor buffet. There was champagne. He had made a call that had scared the filmmakers.
Yeah, to death.
To death. Like, let's scare Jessica to death.
Another 70s horror movie.
Yeah. Frank made that call, and that story excited us quite a lot.
Want more Proops? Click on over to gregproops.com or take a gander at any of the popular Soundcast dispensaries online, Stitcher, the Laughable app, iTunes, or what have you. And now it's time for our sponsor.
Friends at Henderson's Pants, we've noticed that adults, teens, and children are not the only ones wearing the pants in the family these days. Believe it or not, even little babies are fond of wearing a well-tailored pant now and again. But up until now, they were limited in their selection of lower body garments, in that most of what is available are simply just baby pants. Baggy, shapeless, and with little to show off that fast-developing physique. Henderson's is proud to introduce Henderson's Toddler Trousers. These slick slacks are the kind of infant wear that can make even the most preoccupied paste eater sit up and take notice. The extra layers of material in the knee and buttock help to assure hours of comfortable crawling and soft landings for when baby goes boom. And the bit of extra give in the crotch keeps your tyke from that most unsightly of sandbox no-nos, the dreaded diaper toe. Isn't it about time for Junior to crawl out in comfort and style? Henderson's Toddler Trousers come in a variety of luxurious fabrics, the kind found in the finest men's suits on the market today. But Henderson's serge, corduroy, and linen stock has been married with state-of-the-art polyfiber blends, which not only assure years of durable wear, but enough stretchability that today's baby will still be wearing those spiffy duds when it comes time to accept his or her diploma as your now adult offspring graduates from high school. Originally designed for use by Hollywood's little people, jockeys, and chimpanzee astronauts, Henderson's Toddler Trousers are now available wherever clothes for tiny little humans are sold. That's Henderson's, makers of fine trousers and pantaloons since 1896. And now, back to Succotash.
Thank you, Bill Hayward, our announcer. Thank you, Henderson's, for continuing to sponsor Succotash. We love you. And now it's time for our other sponsor.
This episode of Succotash is sponsored in part by TrumPoetry.com, a chronological ode to a fake muse. Enjoy a rhyming spin on the news of the day every day, as well as over 500 archived daily verses thoroughly covering the White House, America, and the world with a sticky caramel coating that's impossible to remove. That's TRUMPoetry.com. Everything you need to know in rhyming couplets. TrumPoetry.com.
I believe that Tyson usually reads one or two selections from TrumpPoetry.com, so I can hardly do less. Here's selection number 741 from January 10th of this year. As measured compromise sits on the shelf, two sides dig in intractability to test the borders of civility. A government at war against itself. Both sides entrenched, forever shifting wise. An image of arm-wrestling politicians. Their public faces mask private ambitions, while consequences stack up to the skies. Two narratives collide, their truths in contrast. A crisis, or a crisis made for show. The time of post-truth makes it hard to know. So Chuck and Nancy's no meets exit bombast. 800,000 workers in a freeze. Each one a national emergency. Let's get back to the Soundcast action. A show that popped into Soundcast land this past year or so is Armchair Expert with actor Dax Shepard. Although his interviewing style is a little scattershot, I enjoy the loose informality that he has with his guests, most of whom he knows from his rambling around Los Angeles for a number of years. Just recently, he hosted Sarah Silverman for a lengthy and revealing chat. Another thing I like about Dax is he doesn't mind venturing into areas that other hosts might feel a little uncomfortable about, as in this segment where he talks to Sarah about his reaction to her sexuality.
Okay, I'm going now all the way back to the sexuality thing, because I've noticed that when you're on shows, you get asked different questions than, say, a male comic's going to get asked. I guess if you notice that, like, and I'm super guilty of it. When I have been around you when I was younger, I'm very conscious of the fact that you're very attractive.
Oh, this is the most exciting podcast interview, honestly.
This is dead true. Like you're crazy funny. I'm a fan of your comedy, but you're super pretty. And so I can't stop kind of being aware of that. And I think I've always in some way wanted some validation from you that extended beyond just you being funny. And I have to imagine many of the people around you have had a similar thing. And is that exhausting? Are you even aware of it? You don't seem to be aware of it. That I would imagine, just want to be evaluated on being funny. But there's this sexual component.
I would say that right now in my life, I love being objectified, because it's thrilling at this point. I mean, Natasha Leggero, who's brilliant.
Love her.
Every time I would see her, she does something to me aesthetically that my face hurts from smiling when I just see her and I look at what she's wearing, and she just is, and I would just always go like, oh, I just want to eat you like a piece of candy. Like I can't even take it. And at one point she goes, I'm more than that. And I go, oh my God, you're brilliant. I mean, like, to me, that's such a given.
Yeah.
Because I'm such a fan, but she also is just so aesthetically like, she just does something to me chemically. Like, she feels so good on my eyeballs.
I completely understand.
Of course I understood when she was like, I'm a comedian. And I was just, it's funny to me because of course I
don't
see her
reduce
as
me to
that.
just being
but it is true. It's like women are just fucking demonized if they lose their looks in any way, or if they try to do something to their face to try to make them look younger than their assholes. So there's it's like lose just by not dying. They are punished by not dying and continuing to live, and that my face is I like the way I look, but I mean it's pointier. My skin is looser. My eyes are kind of closing a little. I can feel like my face falling off my face kind of a little bit, and I'm trying to embrace it. I mean, it's really fascinating. It's a very slow moving horror movie, but I do think that it could have a happy ending, because sometimes I go, oh, I'm not young and hot. I don't know if that's not my power anymore. I have a different kind of power,
But I guess my point is if I was talking to George Carlin, if he was here, I would have a million questions about his comedy. I would never make him walk down a path where I talk about his looks, but I am so drawn to talk about your looks, and I have to imagine that's nauseating. I also imagine I need to not do that.
It's been a long time since that.
It doesn't seem like it bothers you. So
I remember being on Jimmy's show, and I love Jimmy, but he said I was wearing a football shirt or a baseball shirt, like it was my thing at the time, and he goes, oh, you always wear a football shirt or something, and I remember thinking. And maybe I said this, but I just said, hey, you know what? Seinfeld always wears a button down. Right. You're gonna come on the show and you're gonna go, why do you always wear a button down? You always have a button down.
Right.
Like, it's just fucking what I'm wearing.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine a guy, like, every time Adam Carolla's on your show, he wears a maroon button down with a black blazer. You never mention that. You don't point that out.
Yeah. I guess Jay Leno's not on the show a lot, but yeah, he's always in denim on denim. That's his kind of look.
Denim on denim.
So it hasn't, do you think being pretty though?
I gotta stop talking about it, but I'm gonna keep talking about it.
I know. Well, I'm trying to own it and work through it, and I'm trying to understand why I do it and just call myself out on it. But I saw this at the Groundlings. When I was going through the Groundlings, I found that the girls or women that were really attractive weirdly had a harder time. Not that you're ever going to feel bad for those people, but I think it elicited some jealousy with the other female cast members. I think people that were watching the audience weren't accustomed to seeing someone pretty be very funny. Like, I think there were just weird hurdles that I noticed that I thought, oh, that's so weird. I never thought I'd be sympathetic to someone who's really attractive, but in comedy it can be dicey.
Well, I think what makes people funny is a survival skill that they had developed in childhood. So a lot of times it was the fat kid making the fat jokes before anyone else could, or the ugly, whatever ugly is, whatever. And so for me, I would say I was very hairy, I was very hirsute. Okay. I was very, especially, I was in a very blonde, strawberry blonde world.
Yeah.
And I was teased for that. I was a bedwetter and sent to sleepaway camp every summer. And so I had a healthy amount of adversity to make me very funny.
Dax Shepard has had some amazing guests on Armchair Expert. You might want to go back and check them out, such as Conan O'Brien and even his own wife, Kristen Bell. You can get it directly from armchairexpertpod.com or any of those other soundcastery places. It's so hard to keep up with the avalanche of soundcasts, comedy and otherwise, that are sort of popping up every day. Even as someone whose job is reviewing the damn things, I'm constantly finding not just new shows, but shows that have been on for a while that completely slip beneath my radar. One of those is What a Time to Be Alive. It features 3 hosts, Eli Uden, Kath Barbadoro, and Patrick Monahan. And as they say in their Patreon site, it's, quote, the only podcast that counts down all the things each week that makes you say the title of the podcast, unquote. That's What a Time to Be Alive. In this clip, the trio gets giddy over the topic of nunchucks and what a ridiculous weapon it makes in the wrong hands, or sometimes even the right ones.
Apparently nunchucks were illegal in New York. No one told most people that. But they were.
You think most people have nunchucks in New York?
Eli spends a lot of time at comic book stores.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I think more people than you think have nunchucks in New York.
What percentage of people do you think have nunchucks in New York?
Also, it's like New York Post. How about you get your shit 10%? Together? You're a professional writer. The plural is nunchaku, and you should use it. It's not nunchucks, bitch.
Is it N? Are they saying N-U-M?
No, but it's like, remember that kid that always be like, nunchucks?
You should write.
Are you stupid?
You should write them a letter. You should write a
I'm
letter.
I'm going to write a long letter.
You should just go beat somebody up with nunchucks.
Yeah.
Nunchaku, excuse me.
Use my nunchaku.
Don't beat me up with nunchaku.
But anyways, so apparently they were illegal, but no longer, because so many details of a federal court, so this got to pretty high, declared they overruled the ban on nunchucks. They've destroyed it, and the reason that it is no longer banned is not just like someone being like, this doesn't seem necessary. They found it unconstitutional. It violates the beliefs of our founding fathers to ban 2 sticks with a chain on them. That is
what a decision of whether something's constitutional or not is.
Yeah.
It's like, what would Ben Franklin say about this?
Yeah, Ben Franklin in bifocals whipping nunchucks around.
and they cited heavily to the nunchuck rap from Hamilton, which I assume exists in Hamilton.
Yeah.
A brip, a brap, a nunchuck rap. That's how it goes, right?
What is this, the fucking Jabberwocky?
Yeah.
It's from the Mr. Show with the rapping Dalai Lama. Have you seen that? They have a rap contest against the rich fat kids camp. And, that's Bob Odenkirk rapping. It's like a rap. It's really good.
A rap at my chamber door. I'm the Raven, and I'm here to say nevermore. Anyways, they got rid of the nunchuck ban, and it was because of the Second Amendment, which is probably closer to the original intent of that than like assault rifles. It's like a militia.
I think there should be pretty restrictive gun control, but like you should be able to have nunchucks.
Yeah.
Sorry,
the important thing about nunchucks here is that no one knows how to use them in any lethal manner.
Yeah, and if you don't know how to use them, you immediately hit yourself in the balls. Everybody knows this.
You just go up and down and side to side. That's pretty much all it is.
You like hold one and like wiggle the other one around it in an intimidating
Maybe you say
fashion.
like bia.
Yeah. Look, it'll surprise no one here to know that I have owned nunchucks as a child. I bought them in Chinatown near a Hooters. They were padded. They are quite difficult to use.
They're padded?
They were like training nunchucks. I mean, they were cheap. I snapped them in half because I hit them on my bed really hard. So whatever. They weren't high quality nunchucks. Yeah, I just like imagining that like right to bear arms. Like there's one guy on the Boston Tea Party just on the deck of the ship, just fucking whipping nunchucks like as fast as he can.
Absolutely.
That was actually
beating the shit out of a bag of tea. Like
yeah. That was actually Crispus Attucks. That's why they had to shoot him, because he was the most dangerous. They could tell.
Crispus Attucks was doing nunchucks, and then they shot him. Look at Indiana Jones, like, just shoot him in the fucking head. Oh, God. All
that
right.
reminds me of, we were talking about, so tomorrow I'm going to a wrestling show, and there's a match on it that's fans bring the weapons. So you get to bring stuff that you want the wrestlers to use.
Uh-huh.
And a friend of mine was at a show where they announced one of those ones, and someone in the audience just went, "Gun!" And the announcer was like, "No guns!"
No guns!
As I mentioned, What a Time to Be Alive has a Patreon page, which you can click over to from the link on our blog site at succotashshow.com. You can get them a lot of other places too, just hunt around. Our final entry this episode is from a new soundcast, just 3 or 4 installments in, and it's called The Young and the Weary. Great title. And apropos, the young is 32-year-old Jeremy Pinsley, a comedian raised in Nashville, now based in New York. The weary is 88-year-old Dev Rogers, a former occupational therapist, an author, and a budding comedic actor from Buffalo, New York. She'll be appearing in Comedy Central's Broad City this year. As these two have gotten to know each other during the first few episodes of their show, they've kind of revealed a lot, like how they each lost their virginity. Our clip, however, is from the 3rd episode, Bad Language, and they chat about the use of dirty words in comedy.
You know, you go to a nightclub, there's going to be a lot of bad language, maybe some offensive topics, but...
Bad language is no longer bad enough.
What do you mean by that?
Because if you hear it often enough, it loses a lot of its electricity. It's just...
yeah, I agree with that.
Life becomes a big so... Did you hear this?
I agree with you.
Life becomes a big so what? But you don't want to do that to your life because it lasts so long. It has to last longer. Oh, well, okay.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that bad language... I get that you hear it too much and it loses its power, but do you still think it can be used to make something funnier, to express a point more?
It has to be highly selected, not just a way of having something useful or reflexive to fill in, because an awful lot of life is like that anyway. But I don't go to any comedy show. I need to go to comedy shows.
We're going to take you. We're going to get you to some shows.
Oh, I have
to. And it reminded me of a good quote from George Carlin because, you know, I think some people want no offensive language. And he was like, you don't need it. You don't need offensive language. But he was like, you also don't need paprika or oregano. But a little bit, you add a touch of it here. You know, you use it at the right time. It can actually make everything a little bit better.
Yeah.
So, and that's why...
That was a good analogy there, yeah.
Well, I mean, George Carlin was a genius. I mean, he had his bit, The 7 Dirty Words. Have you heard that bit? We watched it yesterday. Do you remember that one?
I remember so little.
Well, the 7 dirty words, shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits. Those were his 7 dirty words.
He made up the list himself, or he got it from somebody?
He made up the list. But in his joke, he talks about how everyone's list is different. And that's what makes... what's okay to say and what's not really hard to determine, because what I find offensive, what's on my list, is definitely not going to be on your list.
So is there anything to talk about at all?
There's always something to talk about.
It seems to be that the list is more important than a spontaneous expression.
No, I wouldn't say the list is more important. I think it's just pointing out that, you know, what might not be offensive to you is offensive to someone else. Like, would you add any words to your list? Any other words that you don't think should be said on TV?
I don't even remember your list, so how could I...
What words shouldn't be said on TV? We'll see if they stand outside of that.
What words should not be said on TV? Fuck, I think, is you know, the thing is, a word like fuck is sort of like a simple excuse. Somebody just, it's like you're handicapped and you need a crutch. So
totally. I think there was a lot of fuck crutches early on in my career, just using bad words as...
Yeah. Well, you did, but you left that behind because you develop in a career. Mm-hmm. So you develop in what kind of words you can use, and you find humor in different ways.
Yeah, I still think, though, when used properly, like Patton Oswalt's one of my favorite comedians, and he has this bit about a sex party that he accidentally walks into, and then this guy disappears in the woods, and he calls him Fuck Squatch. As opposed to Sasquatch. He's like, oh, fuck Squatch, walking away into the woods, never to be seen again. And on one hand, that's like really immature, but on the other hand, I'm like, you can't make that funnier than fuck Squatch. So fuck was the only word that could be used in that situation.
I don't think I know the word Sasquatch.
Do you know what a Sasquatch is?
No, is it an umbrella?
We can start Dev's Sasquatch umbrellas. They take up 2 city blocks so you don't get any rain on you. No, it's not. It's like a beast. It's like I guess like Bigfoot is a Sasquatch.
Who's Bigfoot?
Bigfoot. Well, no one knows if he's real, but he's like a monster, like a big hairy, like mammal monster. I don't really know how to describe it. But the point is that fuck was just that. Like, yes, it can be a crutch. But again, when used at the right times, it enhances a joke and makes everything a lot funnier.
I think the generations can certainly learn a lot from each other. And if you want to hear more of Dev and Jeremy, they have a home site at theyoungandtheweary.com. You can also subscribe to them via iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify, just like us, and other places besides. Whew, I forgot how labor-intensive pulling Succotash together can be. Maybe I should think about giving Tyson a raise, especially now that he has another pair of ears to play soundcasts into. Of course, to do that, we'd need some money coming in. Remember? Donate button, Amazon banner, merch from the Succotashery. That's right. They're all available at our home site, succotashshow.com. And you know what? If you can't afford to give up the loot, how about just rate and review Succotash? Up on our listing at iTunes. Just look for Succotash Show. Doesn't cost you anything except your pride and your vanity. It has been a pleasure spending this time with you, filling in for our hiatusing Tyson Saner. I may be back for another 1 or 2 of these, but fear not. Mr. Saner will be back in the big chair before you know it. A couple of reminders before I skedaddle. If you're a comedy soundcaster and would like to hear a clip of your show on our show, stay tuned for the closing credits where our esteemed announcer Bill Haywatt will give you the details on how to upload your clips directly to us. The other thing I want to urge you to do, whether it's to your family, your loved ones, friends, or even enemies, is to please pass the Succotash. Goodbye.
You've been listening to Succotash Clips, the Comedy Soundcast Soundcast with your substitute host, executive producer Marc Hershon. Brought to you by Henderson's Pants, TrumPoetry.com, and...
Imagine your company's name right here.
Yes, find us on the web at SuccotashShow.com, on iTunes, on Stitcher, on iHeartRadio, on YouTube, on SoundCloud, and on the Laughable app. You can hear us streaming and like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Succotash Show. Email us at marc@succotashshow.com or call into the Succotash Skype line at our toll call number 818-921-7212.
That number again is 818-921-7212.
You can also upload clips from your favorite comedy soundcasts directly to us by using our direct upload link at hightail.com/u/Succotash. Production of Succotash is overseen by Joe Paulino through the auspices of Studio P Sausalito, the home of the hit. Our regular host is Tyson Saner. Our musical director is Scott Carvey. Our booth assistant is Kenny Durges.
That's me.
Until next time, I'm your loyal booth announcer, Bill Haywatt, reminding you to please pass the Succotash. Goodbye.